Welcome to the latest episode of the Oxford Business Insights podcast. I'm delighted to say today I'm being joined by Andy Shiach, the founder of ACS Custom, who's an innovator in hearing protection with a remarkable personal story to go alongside it as well. So welcome, Andy.
Okay.
And we're going to talk topics from music to military to medical breakthroughs and even up to the latest Hollywood blockbuster releases. It's kind of a story from the rehearsal studio to the military. Andy has turned hearing loss into a mission to protect others. And we're going to go through the ACS Custom story. And I have to say, it is a truly remarkable story, both on a personal and on a business level. So, Andy, why don't you kick off and go back to the beginning? How did your journey into audiology and hearing protection begin?
Okay. Well, I have always wanted to be a professional musician, and from the age of 6, I was forced to play the piano, which I hated. But I discovered a music genre that really got the hairs on the back of my neck up, and decided that I would get into live music scene. Joined a couple of bands, and when I was 19, we were we were finishing off rehearsals for a tour that we'd been booked as a support act. And
So what type of music was this?
it's blues, R&B,
Right.
but mostly a kind of blues, jazzy type genre. And halfway through our rehearsal session, the engineer in the studio was messing around with some very big monitor speakers, and he made a feedback through that speaker, which was probably about 2 feet away from my ear.
Right.
And it just blew me off my stool and culminated in me not being able to play on the day. I went home, I had a constant ringing in my ears. I didn't know what was going wrong. I went to bed. I woke up in the morning, and I decided I had some sleep, but I woke up and bought myself a bowl of cereal, and it sounded like an avalanche. It was painfully loud. And I found myself in a situation where not only had I got this noise in my head that I couldn't turn down, I couldn't switch off. I had this intolerance to loud sound. So just a small,
Right.
that was painfully loud to me. Went to see my doctor. He told me I should have got a quieter job. My parents told me to pull myself together and get a proper job. I really was struggling big time. 19 years old, everyone thought I was crazy. I would say if I'd been a professional footballer and my legs had been chopped off,
Right.
people would have been able to understand that type of injury. So I decided that I had to find out what was going on inside my head, and I went through audiology training to find out what was wrong with me.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's a long time ago. I'm nearly into my 70th year now. So 50 years ago,
Yeah.
no one was really that interested. No one was bothered. And that's what happened. I set up a business in 1981, helping people with hearing loss. And then in the kind of late 80s, I discovered a custom-made earpiece with a special filter, and it was called the musician's earplug,
Right.
invented by an American professor, crazy guy with a handlebar moustache and a big cowboy hat.
Right.
Um,
Got it.
and
Goes with the image.
uh,
Fits the image.
yeah, it was. I mean, a crazy guy, but very clever. And I thought this would be my light bulb moment.
Right.
Uh, I need to introduce this into the UK. If I'd had it, maybe I'd still be playing music. So I went over to Chicago, met the guy, told him that I wanted to set up a business, really to stop what happened to me happening to other musicians.
Hmm.
Um, And he was delighted. He said, yeah, but you need to work with my European distributor, my master European distributor. And we ended up really being their distribution partner.
Hmm.
I wasn't at that time manufacturing any products. I was literally just making the market, trying to create a business, and then sending all the ear impressions,
Right.
uh, which is just to step back a bit. When we make a custom product, we have to squirt silicone impression material.
Yeah.
And when that silicone impression material is set, we can then use that to craft a
Yeah.
personal, individually fitted product. And I guess I did a reasonably good job, because then the master distributor, a Dutch company, asked me if we could start manufacturing in the UK.
Right.
And that's really how we started being a manufacturing partner, mostly focused on our core business of protecting musicians.
And how were you received going into trying to sell that? Were you selling directly to the musicians? Were you selling to companies, or selling instruments? Or
No, I was. I mean, it's a very personal thing, because
yeah.
you need to be with each individual. It was tough, um, rocking up at backstages, talking to musicians, talking to support crew. The bottom line was, it was namby-pamby to protect your ears, and
Yeah.
everyone likes it loud.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's been a long haul, but I think now the whole thing has reversed.
Yeah.
Whereas it was namby-pamby to wear earplugs in those days, now it's stupid not to.
Hmm.
So there's been a shift.
Yeah.
Uh, but what I also established at the same time was, it's not just musicians that damage their hearing. Um, we live in a
Plenty of
very
other
big
things.
world. Soldiers, people working in factories, guys that ride motorbikes. Um, we live in a noisy world.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
um, damaging your hearing is permanent.
Yeah.
It's not, you can't take a pill or go have some treatment to fix it. Once it's damaged, it's damaged.
Yeah.
And socially, it is the most disabling condition you can encounter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So. And so, how long did it take you to sort of get to selling? You obviously became good because the Dutch company came back to you and asked you to start manufacturing. But how long was that journey from first sort of taking that product out in the marketplace to actually sort of getting some volume through?
I would say probably about 1992.
Right.
We had established quite a good business. Originally, we were based in Hertfordshire,
Yeah.
um, and at the time, you need to have skilled technicians to produce these products.
Yeah.
And I found the best one in Kidlington.
Yeah. Just north of Oxford. Yeah.
Offered him the job. He said, "Fantastic, love to come and work for you." And he spent a year driving from Kidlington to Harpenden in Hertfordshire
Yeah.
every day, at which time he said, "I love the job, I can't do the drive." So rather than let him go, we decided that we would set up a production facility,
Yeah.
actually in Oxford to start with, and then we found another place in Kidlington.
Yeah.
And we got busy, so we needed to recruit more technicians.
Yeah.
And obviously, being in the area, we thought we'd recruit from within Oxfordshire.
Yeah.
And I got the short straw. It was me that was then driving from Harpenden to Oxfordshire every day.
Yeah. It's not meant to work like that if you run your own business, but I know it sometimes does.
No, it actually lasted. I think I did it for about 3 years, and then I just decided I need to get a place up here.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
spending too
Okay.
much
So
time
that's the foundation story.
Hmm.
And what coming sort of into the mid-90s, how long did it take for sort of people to accept that it was something they're doing? I mean, yeah, as you said, now the world is very different in its attitude now. to things like hearing protection. But did it move much in that time? Was it steady, or was there a particular event or time that made it happen?
I think we grew the business organically, which I think is always a
Yeah,
way to grow a business. And we got, I suppose it was round about 1994, I got invited by the Royal Air Force to go and measure some noise levels in some of their training aircraft.
right.
Because the instructors, who were, seasoned pilots
Yeah,
with high tone hearing loss, were training 18-year-old, perfectly formed, perfectly hearing
right.
cadets. If the instructor turned the radio up so he could hear it, it was far too loud for the cadet.
Yeah,
And if
okay.
the cadet had it at his level, the instructor couldn't hear. So that was kind of a bit of a foray away from the kind of core business of pro audio. But it opened up a lot more doors for us in
Yeah,
terms of there's obviously an issue here. We have to try and solve it. And at the time, I ended up fitting all of the training pilots and the students with the musician's earplug.
right.
It's just very odd. But what it does, if you put an earplug in, a conventional phone
Yeah,
earplug, you can't hear properly if you fit it properly,
yeah,
because it kills all the high frequencies, the parts
yeah.
where speech is intelligible. And the musician's earplug basically is a tuned product that just reduces the volume in an equal way. So it's just
Right.
like making everything quieter.
Got you.
And it improves the ability to hear in noise, because what you want to hear is generally nearer to you than the
Yeah.
ambient sound around you. So that was a bit of a moment for us. And then I think, staying in that vein, we then got very close relationships with the Royal Air Force Centre for Aviation Medicine.
Right. Okay.
We ended up developing a product, a communication product, so an active product that would plug into an aircraft radio that protected them from the noise inside the aircraft, but also reduced the level of the comms to a point where they were safe to listen to without causing any damage to the hearing. And that first went into service around 2011.
Right.
It's now in use. Every aircrew member for the MOD
Right.
uses a
Very
set of
good.
earpieces.
Okay. So that's sort of like the journey. I know there's probably a lot of other steps there, but from a pure commercial point of view, were there any steps where you sort of started selling abroad? I understand it, if you like, how the technical sale developed through the RAF and into aviation.
Mm.
Were there any sort of steps in terms of going international, taking out of the UK?
I never
We'll
had.
talk about technology and production in a moment, but just
Yeah.
what were the
No,
key
I never
things?
had any intention of doing any business outside of the UK
Right.
until in 2009,
Yeah.
I was approached by Apple
Okay.
to work with them and an earphone manufacturer, an American earphone manufacturer, to introduce a custom sleeve program. Essentially, what that meant was that you could buy a regular pair of earbuds.
Right.
They would be fitted with foam tips or
Yeah.
rubber tips. What we did was we had a voucher scheme which allowed people who bought the earphones from the Apple stores to have the ability to get the custom
Oh,
earpieces.
right. Okay.
Great, fantastic idea. But the problem for me was Apple said to me, well, you need to be active in all the countries where we sell our products.
That's quite a few.
Yeah, no pressure. And they gave me 6 months to do that. Well,
Right.
we did it in enough countries to satisfy them. And that was a great program, really good. It
And I have to say, that a little knowledge I know of Apple, it's not always easy to get non-Apple technology adopted and taken up by Apple as an organisation.
No, no. One of the benefits for me and our business is that it's a very personal
Mm.
uh, thing. So when Apple say we want to evaluate your earpieces, can you send some to us? It's no, we can't send them because we have to take impressions of your ears.
Yeah.
Uh, I remember just a quick anecdote. We had a call from The Guardian one year, and it was Stephen Fry's Dork Talk
Okay.
on the Sunday edition in their colour
Yeah.
supplement. Stephen Fry did a technology piece, whole page called Dork Talk, and they called and said, "Can you send some your earphones? We need to give them to Stephen Fry to evaluate." Well, no, sorry, we can't. We need to see Stephen Fry because we need to take impressions of his ears. So those kind of situations are really good for us as a
Yeah.
business because it opens the door immediately to the people that we want to get to.
Absolutely.
And when we deliver some of our real high quality audio products, they just love them.
Yeah.
So I won't tell you what he said when he put them in his ears, but
He was pleased, was he?
he was very, very pleased. Yeah.
Good. Good. Okay. So you mentioned a little while ago about how you went through the process of being quite dependent on one person to do your to create the mouldings, and that was your early stage manufacturing. I'm fascinated to know how the manufacturing process has evolved over the years, because I know it has a lot to the way you operate now. But sort of, what were the stages in that development?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's a custom made product. So you have to have very skilled staff to be able to make an individually
Yeah.
fitted earpiece. And then you're limited by the number of people that you can employ, by the speed at which you can get those products out. So I guess going back to probably mid 2000s, there's a lot of interest in 3D technology in the
Yep.
dental markets.
Yep.
And at that time, I thought, well, if we can 3D print or produce our order book using CAD design and 3D print, we could probably streamline things and scale the business. And I set off again around 2009, working with a developer in Switzerland and some German polymer and or manufacturers of resins. And it took us about 7 years
Right.
before we could produce our very first 3D produced earpiece.
To the precise specification that you obviously need to do to personalize
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it was very expensive. I mean, we're not, we're not a multinational,
Yeah.
uh, enormous company, and the investment we made was significant. I
Right.
mean, uh,
But it was worth it in the end.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that just in the space of, I think 2015, we became 100% digital producer.
Right. And that
And
means that, yeah, previously, if I'm right, if somebody was the other side of the world wanted one of your impressions, even if you got the impression taken there, did that have to be shipped back
they
or
had to, yeah, they had to put that in a box and ship it to us.
right?
Whereas now we still rely upon physical impressions of the ear,
Yeah.
but we have desktop scanners that will convert those physical impressions into a digital CAD file, which can be emailed.
Yeah.
Okay, the that kind of revolutionized our business,
Yeah.
not just from the aspect of it being quicker or more efficient, it allowed us to implement design into ear products that would be physically impossible
Yeah.
without the ability to design everything in and print very tiny, quite complex parts. So it's been fantastic. I think we were probably one of the very first to become 100% digital producer,
Very good.
and it has revolutionized our business.
I think I'm right in saying it's roughly a tenfold increase in the productivity in your production rate by doing that.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it's a very fast-moving technology.
Yeah.
Really. We now have. Let me go back. So we have these technicians that have computer modeling skills.
Yeah.
So they are taking the scan of the ear into their computer and they're modeling it. They're putting in they're cutting the bits off we don't need. They're putting the bores in, filters, speakers, whatever it is we're making is done on a CAD's design system. We now have another partner that we've worked with for 2 or 3 years now, where we don't need the physical modelers.
Right.
We have an AI cloud-based system where we have placed all of the parameters of our products into their solution. We send the scan up to them,
Yeah.
cloud-based, and in literally a minute, we'll get the print file sent down to us.
Right.
And in terms of scalability, that cloud-based modeling system can model 100 times quicker than one individual.
Well, and I can imagine in terms of newer applications, which we'll come on talk about in a moment, that's probably beneficial as well in terms of how you design parts into it to do other applications, because it's not just about protection anymore. So tell us about how that's evolved from obviously starting out musicians protecting musicians' earpieces from over amplification, etc. What are the sort of the range of applications that you're delivering now, and then we'll come on to talk about sort of potential future applications.
Okay. Well, we've talked about music. We've talked about military.
Yeah.
Military is a big part of our business now.
Yeah.
And that just unfortunately is driven by litigation and not to protect soldiers' ears. But that's another story. We part of the reason of locating and building our business in Banbury was because we're involved quite heavily in motorsport.
Right.
So we're now building the earpieces. You see the race car drivers remove from their ears after a race.
Yeah.
But FIA regulations insist that we build biometric sensing devices into the earpieces, so you can monitor things like gyro, G-force, body temperature. You can get a lot of information out of the ear. So instead of being an orifice where we hear speech, it's an orifice where we can get lots and lots of information.
Yeah.
Because the complexity of the ear allows us to take the reactions back and measure lots and lots of different functions.
Absolutely.
So that's quite exciting. Just on a couple of projects we're working on now, we were approached probably 18 months ago by a GP who had found a particular muscle in the ear that would help one of his young patients who had motor neurone disease.
Well, yeah.
And he discovered that he could get a better result from this muscle action than if you would think about Stephen Hawking. He used a muscle here to operate.
Yeah.
He could operate. This company, they're called EarSwitch, won an NHS innovation grant.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy came to me and said, I've got this great solution. It's going to revolutionize the lives of people with motor neurone disease. But I have to fit this 1 square millimeter CMOS camera into the ear, and we have to record the measurement, but it mustn't touch the walls of the ear canal. Can you do that?
So of course you said yes.
Well, I do, because that unfortunately, yeah, I mean that's my biggest problem. If someone says, "Can you do that?" Invariably I would say, "Yeah, no problem." To the consternation of all the people that work there. What the hell did you say that for? But it's things like that, that's a real benefit to people with MND. We're also working with another form of helping people with speech disorders to be understood. So just very simply, we have a guy who is a poet. He's trapped in his body.
Right.
His speech is unintelligible.
Right.
We have a product where we're going to, in fact, I'm fitting this next week, but this product will fit into his ear and we can pick up his voice really, really well, better than from a microphone in front of his mouth. And that will, we can record that, and then that will be converted into text. So it will learn, it's another AI solution.
Yeah.
It will learn what his voice is like. It will convert it to text, and then that text through AI will be converted into an intelligible voice.
And that'll all come out of the earpiece, or?
Yeah, well, yeah, eventually, right, yes, the recording is different, but it will come out through a speaker box or something.
Okay.
So he says something you really don't understand.
Yeah.
And later it's coming out.
And I think you mentioned this could be applied to perhaps stroke victims and things like that who are struggling
I think so. I think it's got a lot of benefit for mankind, and those projects are, they can be quite risky. They can cost a lot of money, and you can get to the point where you have to say we can't do it. So I think I'm not very risk averse.
Well, it seems to have done well on it so far. I always believe in calculated risks, anyway, as with my coach's hat on. But and what about sort of the classic of an earpiece just for translation purposes? Sounds would have been very Star Trek a decade or so ago, but is that a reality? If you go in speaking, I don't know, French, German, whatever language, and you get simultaneous translation?
That technology is out there now.
Yeah.
I mean, there is so much focus on what we can do with the ear and what we can do with speech.
Yeah.
So I actually have got a very early prototype of a translating device. So you talk to me in Dutch.
Yeah.
It converts it to English for me, and then I speak in English, and then you hear me in Dutch.
I can see a few quite well-known businesses under threat by that sort of approach.
Well, yeah, and I think also you can see that now on the internet. If you get into a foreign site, you can convert it into English.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, in terms of yourself as a leadership style, you said you're not risk averse. You like a challenge. What is it like to work for Andy over the years in terms of what's your leadership style to your team members? You've got just to give people an idea. It's about 25 people working for you directly in Banbury. Is that right?
Yeah. It varies by one or two depending on the nature. We have other people out on the road, and then we have an office in central London.
Yeah.
But this is kind of been a mission for me.
Yeah.
It's not a job as such.
Yeah.
I am a diagnosed workaholic, which doesn't do well for the family environment. But I think that I found something that can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
to lots and lots and lots of people. You know, because we've been around so long now, I've got original customers, musicians who
Yeah.
will call me and say, thanks, Andy, I'm still playing music and my hearing's still great.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that to lose the ability to hear as a musician, sorry about that,
Yeah. No, it is.
to hear the musician who's damaged their hearing, it's a life-changing,
Absolutely.
and you know, we've got lots of very loud dance music, we've got lots of DJs who have irreparably damaged their ears,
Yeah.
who come to the point will take their own lives because there's
Yeah.
having a noise in your head that you cannot control.
Yeah.
It's super loud. I mean, it's just intolerable and unbearable.
Absolutely. And so I get that it's just like a personal mission. That's your it's going to be a hell of a legacy whenever you do decide to stop working full on, which might be quite a way off, I think. But
It'll be when the wheels fall off, I think.
and but is your style? I know that the very fact you said in the early days you had a very important technician. And I think at one point you were the only person driving into Oxfordshire. You've obviously got a style where you look after the talent that you've got. Is that?
Well, if I didn't have good people and didn't
Yeah,
treat them well, I wouldn't have a good business, would I? So
absolutely.
it's not rocket science. I mean, I treat ACS is really a very family,
Yeah,
has a very family feel about it. I, I'm I treat people exactly the same way I like to be treated myself,
okay.
and I think you can't go wrong there. But I'm a big Socrates fan. You know, the unexamined life is not worth living.
Yeah,
And that says a lot, really. I mean, in terms of how you treat other people, but how you feel about yourself.
yeah,
Um, and going back to, you know, risk, and I I always kind of follow my heart rather than my brain, and I've made some really poor decisions going forward. But I think, you know, if you make a poor decision, something good may always come out of
yeah,
that, and it generally does.
yeah.
Um,
At the very least, they've got to be learning experiences. When
yeah,
people make a mistake and don't learn from it, that's the problem.
yeah. I mean, I'm very easygoing. I'm quite laid back, or on the face of it, I'm quite laid back. I'm very keen that the people that work for me uh, have an understanding of what this is all about.
Yeah,
My sales director is a ex-bass player, 15-year session musician with the BBC. No one ever told him, you know, he was going to
you
damage.
did earpieces. Yeah, ear
I've got
protection.
another sales guy who's a vet,
Right.
ex-military veteran who's got hearing damage from you know, his exploits abroad. So yeah, it's a very focused, friendly, family orientated business. Um,
Excellent. And what sort of looking forward? What sort of people do you think you will come into the business as you can continue to grow? Will it be very much technicians, AI specialists, or will there always be a place for the audiologists, the people who really understand for want of a better description, the medical side of the application?
I think, I mean, the technology will allow us to scale our business in a
Yeah.
really big way without having to have the big numbers of people working for
Right.
us. And we would, you know, we always recognize the good guys,
Yeah.
and the good people stay with me for years.
Yeah. Well, that's the biggest testimonial we can get.
And if they don't fit in, if they're not good at their job, they'll leave. So we've never really had any major HR issues
Yeah.
as such. Kind of, if you don't like it, go and find something that you do like.
Okay. Well, I've got to ask you a couple of sort of final questions. You're into one or two Hollywood franchises, most recently Mission Impossible. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing in that, because I think when we first spoke, you couldn't tell me about it because it the film hadn't
I'd
been.
kill you.
Yeah, well,
I
you
would
couldn't
have
tell me
told you,
about it. We'd
yeah.
have to.
I would have had to kill you. No, we've I mean, one other channel that we do quite a lot of work in is the film industry.
Yeah,
Going back quite a long way, we've worked on two or three of the Bond franchise
yeah,
movies, um, the Mission Impossible franchise. We've done four of those, I think. And what we're called in for two reasons. The first reason is to protect the stunt guys,
yeah,
the technicians, the actors who are working in very noisy environments. Um, and we make a lot of communication products, so they're active products. They deliver radio
yeah,
in very high extreme noise levels. And the other thing that we use quite a lot for is to produce fancy looking dummy earpieces.
right.
Just one example of that, I think it was one of the Bond movies where they were, I can't even tell you the name of it, Casino, the
Casino
casino.
Royale.
Yeah, and they had a set where all the bad guys were in the opera house, and they all went to put an earpiece into their ears, and that was supposed to look really good, and we did all of those. Um, we've done yeah, all kinds of weird things
Yeah,
in the film industry, but the most recent one, the one that I think is going to be really good for us, is the second part, the last Mission Impossible.
right.
And just again, very briefly, they have a scene in the film where they're using a couple of old biplanes.
Yeah,
Tom Cruise is going to rescue the heroine, and he's
yeah,
jumping on the plane in the air. He refused to do the stunt because he couldn't communicate, and it's his life on the line. So he needs to be able to hear instruction, and the people on the ground need to hear absolutely everything he says. So we adapted one of our military products,
yeah.
manufacture for him. So when he's hanging on the bottom of an air, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Um, we're responsible for him being able to do that stuff.
Communicate.
Yeah,
Excellent.
and in fact, he sent a film crew up here to Banbury to make a movie about us, and how we were able to enable him to do
Excellent.
the stunt. So yeah,
Very good.
my best unpaid salesman, hopefully.
Excellent. So, okay, that is a great way to end the business side of it. But tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're a certified workaholic,
Yeah.
but I know you do a couple other things in your spare time. So, if you have any spare time, how do you spend that?
Well, first off, I'm thinking about all the things that I should be doing, but don't. I'm a bit of a I like cars.
Yeah.
So I'm reverting back to my kind of late teens, early 20s, and trying to get a collection of cars that would be the cars I really would have liked to have owned when I was 17, 18,
Right.
19.
Okay.
Um, but that in itself poses a problem because you have to put them somewhere. And I also enjoy the canals. I love I like nature. I've got a narrow boat, which actually currently I'm selling. So if anyone's interested, you can pass them on to me.
Earpieces and narrowboats. That's a range of products that I wasn't quite expecting. Yeah,
Yeah.
excellent. Okay.
And dogs. I love dogs.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I have some association myself with the Hearing Dogs charity, so I know what dogs can do for
Oh, yeah, dogs. Dogs are.
hearing loss. They're fantastic when they're training. Okay, well look, so we've covered things from sort of music to motorsport, medical to military. You're changing how we hear. Is there a message perhaps coming back from slightly less glamorous than the Hollywood? Is there something you would say to people perhaps doing more ordinary jobs, but are exposed to noise, whether it's perhaps trades or working in factories and things like that. Is this a product that they or their employers should be looking at in their working?
100%, yeah, 100%. And I don't want to be too stressy about this, but we don't take our hearing seriously.
Yeah.
If I said to you, right, Nick, go out and look at the sunshine for 5 or 6 hours, don't blink, keep focused on it, don't wear sunglasses, would you do that?
No.
No, of course you wouldn't. But you'd go to a race meeting, or you'd go to a club, or you'd go to a gig, and you'd stand there in ridiculously high noise levels without thinking about looking after your hearing.
Absolutely.
It's a very, very important sense. And when you lose it, you've lost it. So it is possible to prevent yourself from damaging your hearing through noise by protecting it properly.
Absolutely.
So my mission really is to see everybody treating their ears like they treat their eyes when the sun comes out.
I've got you. That's a great.
So it's like sunglasses for ears.
I think you've taken it from, as you said earlier, that perhaps when you first started business, people weren't taking hearing that seriously, but I think they are now. But it needs to perhaps be spread on a wider, more day-to-day basis, as well as the more sophisticated applications we've touched on. Well, look, thank you very much for your time, Andy. It's been a fantastic story to hear about the journey and also the future applications. And I can only wish you luck with your mission. But just if people wanted to get in touch with either yourself or ACS, just whether they've got a query about the product or might be wanting to take the product from you or just learn a bit more about it, what's the best way of doing that?
Probably we've got a couple of websites.
Yeah.
acscustom.com.
Yeah.
And this one is a tricky one, hearingprotection.co.uk.
Yeah.
So there's lots, and our ACS Custom website is more a consumer focused.
Right.
It's got good product knowledge on there, and our hearing protection website is a bit more technical.
Okay.
And it's got information for employers about how long they can keep their employees in certain levels of noise.
Okay. That's excellent, and we'll certainly put those details in the notes for the podcast when it goes out. So look, Andy, thank you very much for your time. It's an absolutely fascinating story, and I can only wish you luck for the rest of your journey with ACS.
Right, thank you, Nick.